think we can start. I'm Markus Knauer from Eclipse Source InnoPract. Everyone involved in the Eclipse community knows me by name, maybe, but hasn't seen my face. I'm leading several projects at Eclipse. One of them is the remote application platform. We are going to see another example from our bug tracking there in the remote application platform project. Another very famous project is the EPP project that I'm leading. That's the packaging project, and we are providing all the download packages that are available from the Eclipse download page. Apart from that, I'm doing some things like mentoring. I'm in the architecture council, planning council, such things. So I'm doing quite a lot, or I'm trying to spend not too much of my own free time with Eclipse, but I'm doing this all the time.
Hi, I'm Steve Francisco. I work with in IBM, and I've been working with Eclipse for since its inception. My first EclipseCon, though, so I'm really happy to be here. And today we're here to talk about what happens when you. Oh, can you go back?
Oh, sorry.
When it's Friday afternoon and you get the call that you've got a product that the customer's called up and said they have a huge problem, critical problem. It's in Eclipse code. SR2 was years ago. What do you do now? How do you fix it? So first of all, who would need to fix code? Why would this ever come up? Well, there's commercial products that you've paid, you've asked money from customers. They expect fixes if there's problems. They paid you. They expect that service in return. And often with commercial products, the support duration is quite long, 5 years, 8 years, maybe longer. There's also the case of custom development tools that you use internally in a project, but you need to make sure that you've made the choice to use Eclipse or open source technology, and you want to make sure that that's going to keep working and give you the ability to maintain those tools that your company is relying on. And also, sometimes you're working with Eclipse and you don't have a choice as to which Eclipse version you're working with. It's dictated by who you're integrating with, or you're part of a larger product. That decision's not part of what you're involved in, and or you're just supplying supplying add-ons. The third party that you're adding into is the one that's deciding which version you're going to be going into, and you need to be able to support your code going forward. Also, what could go wrong? It's working when you shipped it. Well, as we've noticed lately, there's been a lot of issues like security bugs. Poodle, the most recent one, but also things like Heartbleed, Shell Shock. They seem to be coming up every month or two. And sometimes they affect the base code that we're all relying on. And we need a way to to answer the question of how we handle it that isn't just move up to the latest version. Also, we have new versions of operating systems, new versions of Java, new hardware platforms that need to be supported, and sometimes standards that change and need to be worked with. And also, governments change the rules and say, if you want to sell to us, you have to be working with in this realm properly. If you're based on old code that no longer works, never did work in that, you need a way to fix it. You need a way to address those issues, and you don't want to end up stranded out at. So what are the traditional choices for support if you're in this situation? Well, if you are participating in the project and you've invested in having people working in your team actually being committers on the project, and you can make sure that newer versions of the project are going in directions you want, that's great. You have intimate knowledge of the project. You can get in there, you can make changes, you can probably build the old version, but not everybody has that luxury. Or you can say, well, I'm shipping the product now, I need to support this for a long time. I'm just going to grab a copy of the project from the line, keep it internally, and then if I ever need to do anything with it later, I can get my hands in there and do whatever I want. I don't have to rely on an open source team that may or may not be there when I need them. But then again, that means I have to understand the code. And this may not be something that I want to invest in either. Oh, no, I'm not done yet. Another way is to keep current on the releases as they come out. Version of the EMF or whichever component you rely on has come out. Bring it into your code as soon as you can so that you're always on the latest code. Whatever fixes have come out and try to do that. Well, that's a good thing to try. But it could be really disruptive to your project, especially if you don't control the direction they're going in. They might be causing you lots of pain, and it just causes a lot of churn in your project. The other way is just to hope that it doesn't break, and good luck with that. So we found that as we were facing issues, building commercial products on top of open source Eclipse, we were running out of options that made sense. Typically, Eclipse developers will be making changes and fixes in the head stream. That's where their attention is. They're not really interested in looking at what they did 3 years ago and figuring out why that function that doesn't even exist anymore was now not working quite right. And so it becomes very expensive to apply fixes to unfamiliar code. Even the team that is owning that code might not be able to make too much sense of it. So there's a lot of expenses such as setting up and maintaining a build environment that knows how to work with the old system. Maintaining the hardware that it's running on, which may be old and having support issues itself. Understanding the actual logic inside is a huge thing. The expertise involved there may be beyond anything that you want to invest in. And then once you do make a change, how do you know you're performing the right tests? You haven't introduced a regression. It's a huge issue that puts more and more risk on your projects. So I'm going to hand it over to Marcus to continue.
Let me first start by asking who's using Kepler in consumer or in products where you're involved. Is someone using Juno? More users of Juno than Kepler. Who's lucky and has migrated everything to Luna? No one.
Helios.
Sorry?
You forgot Helios.
Yeah, at that point in time, I cannot think so long in the past. And you were on Helios, yeah, that's something, yeah? Long time ago. So in the past, there are two ways to get support. One thing is you can try to find an expert out there. There are quite a handful of experts. You can ask the projects if they are willing to do something for you. But in the end, you need someone with domain expertise with this project who's able and familiar with the code base. And that's one thing you can get the necessary support. And of course, you have to pay for this service. But here's the question, how do you find those persons? The other one is, to get support, is do it yourself. Of course, but then you have the freedom just to handle those fixes that are really required for you to be fixed. And well, it is possible if you have access to a running build system that's already set up. Then it's easy to fix it yourself. But is this the battery? Yeah. It's only possible if you're involved in this project, doing this yourself. And this is where the Eclipse long-term support comes into play. And we are trying to make this easier, and we are trying to make that possible. What LTS provides, there are two things. The first problem that we are trying to solve is how does someone find someone with a domain expertise, someone who can provide the required fixes. That's the marketplace. You are already familiar with the Eclipse Marketplace, and that's where we are listing the LTS maintenance providers as well. So if you're going to the marketplace, you can find just a few maintenance providers that are willing to provide services for certain Eclipse projects. The other thing that we are trying to force or to make available, that's the infrastructure. We are working together with the Eclipse Foundation to provide a reliable infrastructure that allows you to concentrate on the things that you need to do. You need to fix a bug. Everything else, running the Git repositories or your own private Git repositories, running the build machine, running the signing service, etc. This is done by the Eclipse Foundation. That's not in your, that's nothing that you have to do. The LTS Marketplace, I told you about this. This is where users like you can find companies who are willing to provide support, and they are offering their support offerings there. It just helps you to find someone with a domain expertise. It's up to you to find, to define the contract with this maintenance provider. You are defining the rules about the terms, the costs, and everything else. And you have to work out the contract with the maintenance provider, depending on your own needs. That's our idea and our vision. And of course, the service providers, they provide you with a fix. That's a certain amount of time that's involved. But on the other hand, they need to provide, or they keep up with the expertise to be able to be in a position to provide those fixes. For you or for everyone else, it's free to use the marketplace to look up things, but to be listed on the marketplace or to list your own services there, that's obviously not for free, because with those fees we are paying the running of the platforms where we are building everything and so forth. This is the current state of the long-term support marketplace. There are currently 9 members listing their offers, their services. There you can find a suitable maintenance provider. Not everyone is providing services for every project. You can contact them there, and in the end it's up to you to negotiate the terms and conditions about your maintenance contract.
So we just talked about the marketplace. The second half of it is the infrastructure. So I want to talk a little bit about how Eclipse does, what LTS Eclipse offers in terms of how what's happening and everything else. So infrastructure consists of a Git repository, which is private and separate from the main Git repository that the community is using for Eclipse development. The build, which has a Hudson front end, so we can use continuous integration builds. Signing services, so you can get bundles out that are properly signed and ready to use. And also, last but not least, a full-time engineer that's working on making sure that the infrastructure is functional and corrected if there's issues and maintained properly. As Marcus mentioned, it costs money to be an LTS member. The access to this infrastructure is limited to those that are, and there's details about the cost structure in our reference material at the end. If anybody's interested in looking up that, I can point them to it. So I'm going to get a little more detailed about the infrastructure. On the left, what we have is the external community Git that maybe has Eclipse Juno, SR2. You've got the original code that shipped is there, and also Headstream and everything else for development happens in the community. And then on the right, behind a firewall, are things that only the LTS members can access, and it's a similar Git that takes a copy of typically the SR2 version of whichever release we're looking to support. So for example, 4.2.2 is there. And we can, there's a group of forges. The main one vertical there is the LTS Central, where we have the original code. It starts off with the original code, and then as fixes are being provided for whichever project it is, the one I typically work with is Eclipse platform. We would push those changes in as needed, typically when somebody is contacting us for help, or if we're self-servicing and trying to fix a problem that we have ourselves. Make the code change, push it into the Git on the private side. The build happens as part of, we do, for platform, we're doing 4 builds a day, and it'll just get picked up in the next automatic build. And then we have access to the bundles that are from that build that contain the fixes. We make sure that the version numbers are incremented according to the rules properly, and then do some testing, and we're ready to go. Yes?
Does this drawing imply that there's all LTS members supply the hash to the same source space, or do they have the individual source space?
Yeah.
Before SR2 basically forked into like branches.
So you have full flexibility. The LTS Central is a central place where all members in LTS can access, and you can benefit from another team's fixes if they've pushed them there.
What license do they use?
It's EPL. This is all EPL, and any changes we make, even though they're built on a private side, still need to be published publicly to be compliant with EPL. So the bug fix needs to be, say, attached to the Bugzilla. We're still using the same Bugzilla system. It's not a separate Bugzilla system. Now, in addition to the LTS Central forge, each team can have their own private forge, which other LTS members don't have access to. So SAP is a member, Eclipse Source, IBM, others each have their ability to custom branches, and the content there can be as unique as we need it to be. So if a company that's providing a service to a customer who says, I've got some old code, it's 2012, and I have some it's still running on 4.2.2, and I found a bug in SWT, and I need it fixed by the end of next week, and I only want that one bug fixed. I don't want to get a whole raft of other changes that's going to disrupt me. Well, you can do that. You can say, okay, I'm going to start right from the original branch of 4.2.2. I'm going to make a branch in my own private forge, put a fix in for that piece, run a build on it, take the resulting SWT bundle or whatever had to change to fix the problem, and then provide it to your customer and as a P2 update or whatever makes sense in their situation, and you can satisfy that specific need.
So you're talking about the reactive scenarios. My customer runs into some serious problem, SWT, they updated the operating system to Windows 12, whatever. Is there also an option to subscribe to, let's say, the search releases, like 4, 5, 6, so I can do proactive?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. So you're basically asking, are we going to have SR3, SR4 as we move along? There are no plans to be putting out simultaneous releases. Right now, the pieces that are in there, they're individual projects. So we might have a subset of the Eclipse projects that shipped with Kepler, and those will be available if they can be built properly in this forge system. Then they're there. They can be modified. They can be updated. But perhaps there was never one of the other projects didn't ever get brought in because there wasn't anybody that was offering their expertise to support it. So it's not part of the system. So you don't have necessarily all of the projects available to release.
But let's talk about the university.
Yeah. Well, that's something that we could do. We haven't made any decisions that we're officially going to do anything like that. So at some point, LTS Central is a place where all of the fixes that we feel are stable enough and proper, there's a review process for getting things in there. It's going to have one head stream effectively on that branch, or for 4.2 maintenance, for example, that you could at some point say, okay, we've got now 118 fixes in there. Maybe it makes sense to call it some service release. It's not something that we've decided that we want to do, but if the community sees some value in that, it's something we can discuss, and it might make sense at some time. So we haven't closed the door on that, but we don't plan on doing that at this point. Any other questions? Okay. So the workflow for making a change, the bug will start off in Bugzilla, typically against the version that you've got the problem with. Fix backported from the head stream if it's already been fixed, or a custom fix can be made by the person with domain expertise. It gets pushed into the LTS Git system, either into a branch that's private to your organization, or into the common one, whatever makes sense. And it's actually pushed into Garrett, and needs two reviewers to agree to have it go in. If it's going into the common piece, into LTS Central, then you need to have it approved. So we have more than one eye looking at the issue, making sure that it makes sense, it looks safe. That review restriction doesn't exist on your private forges. You can do any changes you want. You can do what-if scenarios, hack at things, and do your own build. So once you do get approval, whether you do it yourself or got your other LTS members to agree to put it into Garrett, they're merged. With Hudson using CBI, Maven, Tycho, and out the other end, depending on how quickly it is, about an hour or so, you get your bundles, and you can deliver them in whatever form makes sense for your consumer. Whether it's a product that's a team that just wants an update site, or a zip file, whatever makes sense. So to make fixes, what you need to have is somebody with commit authority to make the changes in the project on the LTS side. In the community side, you need to be a full committer, which means you have worked, proven yourself worthy of being a committer, and convinced the team to let you in. On the LTS side, you just have to be an LTS member, having access to that, and you can declare yourself, or the organization that's a member can declare their own maintenance committers. So it's a much lower bar. You don't have to do anything other than saying, well, I'm paying to use the service, and I want these 3 people to be able to commit. And Eclipse committers are automatically able to push changes in. That's committers on the LTS side. Yeah, we have, well, there is an LTS website, lts.eclipse.org, that has all the detailed sub-pieces, and also a list. If you aren't seeing some information to, just post there, and we'll be happy to let you know where the information is, or make sure it's available. Now, like I said, in the company forges, the ones that are specific, where you're free to make your own changes, you don't need to get any approval. You don't have to go to the PMC and say, look, we're planning to rewrite this function because we think the performance could be better. If you want to do that on your own and give it a shot, that's fine. Nobody's going to stop you. The changes in LTS Central do require some oversight. Let's not have a free-for-all with, we want to make sure that the quality is under some review, so you do need to have a Garrett review happening there. And like I said before, since the LTS side isn't public, you do need to make the source code changes that you're making in any Eclipse code available to the public, typically by attaching a patch to the Bugzilla, that type of thing, in order to satisfy your EPL requirements. Your turn now.
It's my part again. I think this answers a little bit your question about being able to provide a new simultaneous release, service release 3 or something like that. Projects can be included into LTS, but they need to be mature, stable, and fulfill some of these conditions. Since about 1 or 2 years, every project at eclipse.org is available from a Git repository, so this is a non-issue for most of the projects. There are still some Juno, that's correct. Not every project at that point in time was. Yeah, but I think they migrated everything into Git, so I would say the source code of Juno is now available in a Git repository. Usually there's the requirement for a project to use Maven or Tycho. There are some exceptions, for instance EMF. We are thinking about pulling EMF into LTS, but because of the fact that EMF is built with Buckminster, that's not ready, and we are trying to solve either the Buckminster issues or migrating EMF build to Maven Tycho. And we would be happy if there's someone else who wants to join this effort. Next slide, please. Right now there are a couple of important projects in LTS available. It's Equinox that's there. Everything around the Eclipse platform, the Eclipse project itself, the JDT and the PDE project. And that's what my company is doing. We're providing lots of RAP support, and that's why we are pushing the RAP source code into LTS. And by the way, we are maintaining a separate internal InnoPract only branch for every customer. And we discuss with every customer which changes we are applying on these special customer-owned branch. You're already familiar with Hudson. That's what we are using internally as well. There's the central LTS Hudson that's creating builds that are visible to all LTS members. So we are seeing the same build results as IBM. And then every LTS member, premium member, can have its own Hudson instance where you can test run your own builds and do whatever you need for your company. The central LTS Hudson server is running the platform builds every 6 hours, and well, that's what we are calling private forges. They have access to the InnoPract only branches, or to the IBM only branches, or to the SAP only branches. What we have so far, we have Git repositories that are separate from the community Git repositories. We have the authority to make code changes, meaning that we are able to have maintenance committers that are responsible for doing those changes, but they are not part of the community or project team. We have the ability to build on demand. That's very important. If your customer calls at 6 p.m. Friday evening, we have the freedom to maintain everything ourselves, and everything is ready, except then always needs to be someone with the expertise to change the code. There are two. You need this expertise to make a code change, and then you have choice of, or no, let me start it the other way around. You are in a position that you found a bug, and you need someone to fix this bug. Then you have two choices. Either you are a self-service maintenance provider, you have the domain expertise, you can do all this yourself, then LTS is the place for you, and you can be a member of LTS, use the infrastructure there, and do your own code changes. That's the self-service maintenance provider. The other one is you're searching another company which is providing those services. Then you are asking this other maintenance provider to do all these things, and that's the maintenance provider with a domain expertise. I was looking for an example, and I found this one. We had a serious issue in RAP with a data binding. If we were typing too fast in a text widget, the cursor would jump back to the first position and would delete all the text. That is a serious issue for an insurance company that wants to go live in the next week. And I received an email about this critical right before the evening, 5:51 p.m. We finished the analysis of this bug about an hour ago. We were lucky to find the error, the final error, and went to sleep. On the next day, we created a first version that was ready and published to the customer at around noon. And then we found internally some corner cases that needs to be handled. And in the end, we had a fix delivered to the customer in less than 24 hours. I think that was a very good success story. No. In that case, we were delivering a special version based on RAP 2.1.0 with only those two fixes. No, that was delivered from our private repository. If a customer wants to go live, they are usually doing their internal quality management, and they don't want to upgrade to a newer version. They want exactly those bits plus only those two changes. Yeah. We made available the fix a month later to the public in the official RAP 2.1.2 version. Business opportunities, two things. One is for you, if you're a member company, you can become a maintenance provider that is listed on the marketplace, offering services to others. The other thing is you're looking for support. You have your own product built up on Eclipse technologies. You need a safety net. You need someone who is able to fix a bug in a timely manner. And then you can go to the Eclipse LTS Marketplace and find a maintenance provider. These are the main two business opportunities: providing bug fixes and consuming bug fixes. Currently, we have a steering committee with the following members. CA is a member from the very beginning, IBM, of course. We are doing some work. Polasys working group is also a member, and SAP is very interested, and they are a member of the steering committee, and we are trying to push this initiative forward. There are a number of web pages and other resources that are worth mentioning here. Steve mentioned the LTS web page, where you can find information about the process about the price model. That's lts.eclipse.org. Then there's the marketplace listing, marketplace.eclipse.org. There's the charter, which summarizes all the rules and conditions of the LTS. And you can contact us all the time by writing to this email address, lts@eclipse.org. Then we are trying to find an answer in the steering committee, or you're using the public mailing list of the working group, LTS-IWG@eclipse.org. Thank you, and we are open for questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question regarding the scenarios where multiple Eclipse components would be involved. And maybe the most difficult case would be a client needs a fix in SWT, gets a custom build with this fix in SWT included. Next time he finds a bug in JDT and needs it, but that maintenance provider may not have the knowledge about that other component. Is there some provision of interaction between domain experts from different projects, so that in the end the customer will get the SR2 plus the SWT fix plus the JDT fix?
Well, in that example, it may be the same service provider providing both SWT and JDT services. Yeah, but in the example, let's say that wasn't the case. You were using somebody for SWT because it made the right choice. It made sense for you to use that person as the maintenance provider at that time. Later, they're no longer the right choice for JDT, maybe, and you went to a different person. As long as the previous fixes have been pushed into LTS Central and shared between the providers, you can say, okay, this new provider working on JDT, if you're going to be giving me an entire new build, I want to make sure that I'm still getting the SWT fix I got before. Here's the bug number they fixed. Please make sure you are. So that allows the person who's doing your JDT work to say, okay, let me see. They look at the Bugzilla, they say, aha, I see that it was fixed in last November. Here's the Git that happened at that time. I'll cherry pick it and put it into my private build and build the customer exactly what they need. Or if it's already in LTS Central and they're okay with picking up other fixes that are also merged in, you can build something up in LTS Central and give them that as well.
What if you are just JDT provider? Do you have access to the Git commit, or you have to pick all the stuff from Mozilla?
No, if you are an LTS member, or if you're a member of LTS, you have access to all commits that any other LTS member is pushed into LTS for all projects, yes. You may not want to go in and start making code changes in a project that you don't know much about, but maybe you do. So it gives you the opportunity to do that, and you can do a build on any of them.
All changes that are in LTS Central, that's the central Git repository. I'm not able to see anything that's being done by IBM in their own Git repository.
Although every team that's making changes to Eclipse source code is obligated to make the source code available upon request. So either by looking at the Bugzilla and seeing what changes they made, or if the client you're working with says, I used this other provider last year, you can then contact them and say, what changes did you give this customer? They want to make sure that we're not going to stomp on what you did, and work with them. And it's still a community on both sides. Any other questions?
Slightly related, do you have experience with incidents where you approach a maintenance provider because you think this is a bug impacting such and such project, the maintenance provider does some analysis, and all of a sudden found, no, this isn't actually a bug in one of the projects that I'm expert in, but it's a bug that's somewhere down in the platform. So
That never happens. That's right. Yeah, but without bugs, it doesn't happen. Yeah, that's certainly going to happen on occasion. The teams that are looking for support from these maintenance providers are typically Eclipse developers themselves. There's the ones that have built a product. They've decided to use a component that they don't know much about, but it gives them some functionality they need. But they've done their problem determination, and they think it's an SWT problem. So they go to an SWT provider and say, look what's happening. As part of looking at how much they're going to be charging, we'll do some analysis on the issue. Is this a huge problem? Is it going to be a rewrite, or is it something that I can just cherry pick from the in a few hours? During that analysis phase, when you're trying to size the work, you may say, this isn't an SWT problem. Maybe it's as simple as a user error. You shouldn't be calling it with this parameter, but it should get. We don't have a whole lot of history yet to draw on. We haven't had a situation like that yet. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.